Kick the Jukebox is so much fun. Kyle and Louie are number one. Kick the Jukebox, kicking a rhyme. Talking about music all the time. Oh yeah!
Hello everyone and welcome to Kick the Jukebox. I am one of your hosts, Louie Pearlman.
Hi, and I'm Kyle Gordon.
And we're here to talk about music, have some fun. Kyle, how are you doing? What's been going on?
I'm doing very good. Very busy this month, and that is the reason why I've been listening to this next song nonstop.
What? Okay, first of all, before we get to that.
So, okay.
What have you been doing? Like, I was just at your My Dark Little Corner show. You have a band.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I am part of the band My Dark Little Corner. It's a pop punk emo parody band. I would say everything from like Blink-182 to I would say, okay, if I had to make a square, like the what's it called? The
like a Venn diagram.
Venn diagram, or like what's the thing? Like on an axis. Is like in one corner it'd be Blink-182. One corner I'd say is like My Chemical Romance. Then maybe one corner is like maybe more emo-y stuff like Jimmy Eat World. And then maybe another corner is, I don't know. Maybe.
You have to fill in that fourth corner.
Yeah, I have to fill in that fourth corner. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I'd say that's sort of the comedy element, right? The
Yeah,
parody
the comedy,
element is
yeah,
the fourth.
right. Yeah,
is the fourth
he's the
corner.
fourth
It's sort of
corner.
like I'd compare you guys like to. You're like you're like a classic novelty act, but updated for like the
Right.
modern day.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe in that final corner is like Dr. Demento or
Yeah.
like some of his people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's because it is cartoony. It's not like a pure like one for one. I feel like we're not quite Spinal Tap because we're a little more cartoony than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. No, I went to your show. It was awesome.
Yes,
I had
thank you.
I had a really,
Thank
really
you.
good time. Yeah, and it just seemed like there were so many elements. Seemed like you were really busy.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this. You were listening to a specific song or album over the last few weeks to like calm yourself down.
Yes.
What was it, Kyle?
I was listening to something that has nothing to do with any of those bands. I've been listening to Cherish by Madonna and the whole Like a Prayer album, but specifically Cherish.
What drew you to Cherish during these times of difficulty, or not difficulty, but just like times of like extreme busyness and
Yes.
creative output?
Well, because I think my sensibility, and I think yours too, lean very pop heavy. But I mean, at the end of the day, I need like a pure catchy pop song. But my tastes vary to how central the poppy catchiness is to the song. And so some might be more experimental, but at the end of the day, I need like a catchy hook.
Yeah.
And Cherish is just like the purest, shut your brain off pop song, but then also it's like just a really, really well constructed pop song with a great melody and a great hook.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to completely zone out, but I needed to jam out and just like needed music that would literally let my brain shut off, but while still being like engaged, if that makes sense.
Very much so. Yeah. I think that good pop is really, really engaging, and it's like really, it needs to be rich, and that means that it needs to surprise you. And Cherish is like so brightly produced, and it is so hummable. However, there are like very surprising elements to it, and I think that the hook has to do with that, and also like something about Cherish I find interesting is I think it really fits well with Madonna's earlier material.
Right.
But it was actually recorded a little later on.
Yes.
It was recorded for Like a Prayer.
Yes.
Which is from 1989.
Yeah.
Which is a little later for, in just Madonna's career. It's like past Lucky Star, which
Yes.
it's past Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yeah.
Which is where I thought Cherish actually
Past
fell.
Papa Don't Preach, even.
Yeah, which is when
Yeah.
Madonna was sort of getting a little more emotional, a little
Yeah,
more
right.
serious.
Yeah.
So Why do you think she put Cherish on that album that also has like a prayer on it, Express Yourself, which is like a little more of a deep gay anthem? Cherish is like really like a pure love song. Why do you think it's on there?
Well, I think the album was kind of, I mean, it wasn't a compromise, but like that album takes so many stylistic turns, but while still having sort of like more of an R&B, funkier leaning to it. Like Prince produced a song on that album.
Which you can tell.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so Prince. It's just Madonna singing a Prince song.
Do you remember the name of that Prince song?
Yeah, Love Song.
Oh,
Love Song.
Cool.
Yeah. It's but it's super Princey and super. And there are other songs that are kind of on the album that are like slower and more Princey and like Dear Jessie is like kind of got like a almost a classical element like with the big strings and stuff, and Oh Father, Spanish Eyes is like a slow, like the second half of the album is like really slow. It's
much more ballady. But Cherish comes near the end of the album. Yeah, exactly. And it kind of picks it back up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on side one or two.
I think Cherish is on side 2.
Probably side 2, track 1.
Yeah, of that album. Yeah. Something I learned about Cherish just this week is that it was co-written by Patrick Leonard, who is also the producer on the track. And something that I really like about the song is that he intentionally put in the line, "Cherish is the word," which is a callback to a song from the 60s that I really like that's also called Cherish, that's by the band The Association, who also had a really catchy pop song that was called Windy, which we could probably do a whole episode about, because Windy's really kind of an amazing, very, very cool song.
Yeah,
no, Cherish is great. I'm surprised. I'm actually not surprised that it's calmed you down. That it calmed you down during times of stress.
But the whole album is just, and like I've been going through a general Madonna phase, like as work picks up and everything, but then particularly this album, because it does satisfy, like, because some of the early stuff is a little too sterile, you know.
For you it is. For me, like, Get Into the Groove is like perfect.
But this, it has it's like a little thicker, the production on this album. But yeah, Cherish is like, it's still a little sterile. It's got like some depth to it.
Yeah, no, it's bright. It's very cool.
Yeah. Cool. What have you been listening to of late?
Well, okay, so I was really lucky a few weeks ago. I got to go to a really fun benefit in Fairfield, Connecticut that was for a program that's called the Kennedy Center, but it's not the Kennedy Center that we know of. It's a whole other organization that has the same name.
Carl Kennedy.
Yeah, like I literally is another Kennedy, and I don't remember who it is, but the Kennedy Center, what they do is they provide programs for people who are on the autism or Asperger's spectrum.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they're doing some music programs right now for kids on the spectrum, and running the music programs is Steve Scales, who's one of the members of the Extended Talking Heads.
Oh, that does it for Louie.
Yeah, totally.
As you will come to learn on this podcast.
Yeah, and they're my all-time most favorite band, and I adore the Talking Heads very, very much. So he was playing, and Chris and Tina from Talking Heads were playing, and then Nona Hendryx was playing, who's also a member of Extended Talking Heads. A lot of people would know her as being a member of the group LaBelle, who, you know, Nona Hendryx came out and sang Lady Marmalade, and I was like shocked at how great it was to hear that song live, sung by the correct person. I was like so into it. So then I was like looking into Nona Hendryx, and that brings me to the song I want to talk about today. The song I've been listening to a lot is this song by a band called Material that's called Bustin' Out, and it has Nona Hendryx on lead vocals, and I think it's amazing.
It is a really cool song. Like, it's like a driving bass. It's like a kind of like a like very disco-y song, but like definitely there's this like looseness and kind of roughness, and because like the bass is really clean and driving, but pretty much, and the vocals are like she's like a diva, you know, and
one of the best divas.
Yeah, with like an amazing, super powerful voice, but like everything else about it feels like punky and no wavy and like kind of just like keeps it loose and freaky in this like kind of awesome way.
And this band came out of like the no wave scene and were quite a bit more experimental.
Yeah, I don't really know much about them.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
This is based on some very preliminary research. But they made a decision to go a little more mainstream with their sound, and this is the result, which feels cleaner than a lot of no wave acts at the time, but also is still very weird dance music.
Right. It was on this compilation called Mutant Disco that I was listening to, and it's like such an interesting and unique time in music. Like there's never, it kind of didn't really, this music only exists, it's like so specific to this time, like 79 maybe, 78 to like
I think
80.
the song is from like 1980 specifically.
80, even 78 is going a little maybe too far back, but like 1980 is just like right on the cusp, and it's like everyone's wondering if disco is going to do anything in the US, and people are playing around with it before people totally throw it out the door a year or two later. But it's really cool standout track on that compilation.
Absolutely. And we can't talk about this track without discussing the guitar solo at the end, which really comes as a big surprise. And it's very messy and unpredictable, and is really a surprise at the end of like such a strong groove for the rest of the song.
It is. Like, because it's such, in a lot of ways, it's a really precise, driving, almost clean sound underlying the song, and then this guitar solo, when I first listened to it, I think I was a little zoned out, and the guitar tone could easily be like hard rock or metal, like, hair metal typey band sound. Like, it's a pretty standard, clean, like, guitar tone, but the way they play it is like they make it just really messy and really fun and just weird as hell.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love this song, and I really love that whole compilation, Mutant Disco. I recommend that everybody checks it out, because there's some gems on there of a very specific time in dance music history, and very much a specific time in New York music history as well, that I think has just never been repeated.
Right. This song feels really New York to me.
Really, yes, absolutely. All the cross mingling of different genres, different musicians working together.
Right.
And something that I want to track down now is apparently Material were one of the first bands to work with Whitney Houston.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to track that down, and maybe I'll find that for next month.
That'll be,
we'll
include that our next month's...
our next month's Spotify list.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to segue out of that, and I want to talk about something very important that Kyle and I have found.
By the way, the best way to segue out of anything is to say, I'm segueing.
I agree with that, very much so. So I want to talk about, Kyle and I are music archivists, and we're big fans of a lot of different artists and bands. And we found some unreleased audio recordings from the Ramones.
Yes.
And it's fascinating. It's actually the Ramones in their acting classes.
Yeah. We were down in the National Archives. We spent the last 2 months down there digging in the crates. There were times that we were not allowed access, and we were sneaking into the reserved section of the National Archives.
Yeah, because
and,
we're sneaks.
Yeah, we are big time sneaks, and you'd be surprised. I'd say 10% of everything at the National Archives is dedicated to the Ramones.
Yeah,
they are
shocking.
huge. I was amazed, but we finally found this audio, and we are very glad to share it with you now. It's very interesting.
It was recorded in California, right before the Ramones started shooting Rock and Roll High School.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that's all the setup that you need.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, some brand new Ramones audio recordings that no one's ever heard before.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. It's me, your acting coach, John LaRue, and we are here today in beautiful downtown Burbank to teach the Ramones a little bit about acting. Dee Dee, how are you doing today?
Oh, yo, yikes, I got the bubblegum stuck in me hairs.
Oh no! Have you ever tried using baby oil to get out bubblegum from your hair? It's a really good way to get out bubblegum.
What? I've got years and years of bubblegum in my hair. Are you kidding me? There's a way to get this stuff out?
Oh my god. I guess this is a bit of a bigger problem than I thought it was. But yeah, baby oil will do the trick.
Whoa. Oh, I won't remember that, but hey, thanks for the tip.
Now, we're still waiting on your scene partner for today. Oh, here he comes through the door, Joey Ramone. It is a pleasure to meet you, Joey. I'm a big fan. You are a rock and roll icon. Hello, Joey.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I was busy listening to "Be My Baby" by the Ronettes. I just love that song. It's really beautiful. It's a great song. Like, I need to listen to it at least 7 times a day to feel mentally stable. Oh, Dee Dee, how you doing? How are you?
Oh, hey, Joey. Hey.
All right, guys. I don't have you for very long, so let's get to it. I'm gonna have you improvise through some scenarios, and I want you to make them really, really high stakes, and then I'm going to analyze the scenarios and see what you need to become better actors for your film Rock and Roll High School. Do you understand, Dee Dee?
Yeah, by me.
Do you understand, Joey?
Acting.
All right, gentlemen. All right, let's keep the train on the track here. Okay, so here we go. Scenario number 1. Dee Dee, you are an angsty, young, teenage son who needs to take the keys to the car from his dad in order to go out carousing. And Joey, you are the reluctant father who wants his son to stay at home and study. Right? Do you two understand?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever, alright.
Alright, and scene.
Hey, Dad. I'm angry as hell, and I want to go for a ride.
Hey, will giving you the keys to the car make you a little less angry?
Yeah, can I have them?
Yeah, here you go, here's the keys to the car.
Great. You're my dad.
You are my son, Dee Dee Ramone.
And you're my father, Joey. We live together, and you're my father about that.
And scene. Okay, all right, that was a really good start. No, there's no problem. That was a really, really, really good start. That was great. There needs to be some excitement here. So I'll think of a new scenario, maybe one that's a little more high stakes, okay? You've both been stuck on a desert island, and there's only one coconut left. You need to figure out who's gonna eat that coconut and who's gonna perish on the island, all right?
Oh, this island, where is it? It's in the Barbados?
Yeah,
where is it? Is it on Rockaway Beach? Where's this island?
Was it in Cucamonga?
Yeah.
Cucamonga, yes, the island is on Cucamonga,
Right,
okay,
Cucamonga.
boys? Okay, all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, scene.
We're stuck on this island.
Yeah, we're here on this island. Oh, look at this. We got Tarzan swooping around.
He's flying around with Superman.
Yeah, flying around with Superman.
Tarzan and Superman. That's pretty funny.
Who do you think will win a fight, Tarzan or Superman?
Okay, so I think that it would be like Superman would be winning, but then Tarzan would call his animal friends and they kick Superman's ass.
Yeah, exactly. Because you think it'd be Superman because he got so many powers, but actually Tarzan he he's got so many friends. Superman ain't got no friends.
That's right. Superman is a loner. He ain't got no friends except Lois Lane, who's like a girlfriend, and like he's like mean to her. He's not nice to her.
Exactly. She got no power. She can't do nothing. And so we're on this island, and fine by me.
Great, I'll eat the coconut. You'll die.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
Well-
Issue resolved.
Well, look, Tarzan just beat Superman.
Oh, everything worked out.
We were right.
What a story.
End scene. Okay, that was really just a discussion about who would win in a fight, Tarzan or Superman.
Yeah, that's good. Of course, that's great.
It's important. It's good. Acting is acting,
Yeah,
right? Right, D is acting.
Yeah, that's acting.
Okay, all right. I'm really gonna raise the stakes here. I really want you to get to the meat and potatoes of the scene. All right. So what I want to do is I want to do a scene where Joey is dying. All right, in the hospital, and Dee Dee, you're coming in to say goodbye. You're saying goodbye to Joey. All right. Okay.
Yeah, Dee Dee, I'm not long for this world. I'm gonna shove off this mortal coil.
I want pizza.
Oh, I love pizza!
Yeah.
Do you get vegetarian pepperoni for me?
Yeah, I got half veggie, half pepperoni for my friend, because he's dying.
Oh, let's eat this pizza.
Yeah.
Yum, yum, yum,
Yum, yum, yum, yum, yum.
I wish this was real pizza, not just acting pizza.
I know exactly. If I had this real pizza, I would put this down in my tummy.
You know where I wish we were right now instead of in Hollywood? I wish we were at Grimaldi's eating a really good
Yeah,
pizza.
we were at Grimaldi's, sucking down a fat slice and getting a couple garlic knots, drinking a Coke, and and then going out for malts.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't had a really good egg cream in a long time. We've been on tour. It's been a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, screw it. We should go. You want to get out of here and get some pizza?
Gentlemen, stick to this. He's dying.
No, but seriously, DD, you want to get some pizza?
Yeah, let's go get some pizza.
Okay. Mr. LaRue, nice to meet you. We're gonna get some pizza.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, pizza is shit, but still, we should go anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Bye, Mr. LaRue.
Yeah, bye, Mr. Lou.
Boys, you paid for 3 hours. You used me for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
Oh man, that was some amazing material.
Incredible. For Ramones fans, that was, that's never before heard.
I know. And you heard it here first, here on Kick the Jukebox,
Yes.
folks. It's very exciting.
Yes,
It's exciting
very cool.
for Ramones fans, for fans of good acting,
Yes.
for fans of Alan Arkish films.
For 20th century historians, and maybe even world historians.
That's right. Global historians.
Yes.
So, this is the perfect time, it feels like, to delve into talking about Rocket to Russia.
Absolutely.
So, Kyle, this is one of your favorite records of all
Yes.
time. Why is
Hands down.
that? Why do you love it?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about my taste at the beginning. These are pure, boiled down, bubblegum and surf rock songs, essentially. But they've got an edge to them, and they're like so in your face. They demand attention, but at the end of the day, it is just simple pop songs.
Well, here the kids are all hopped up and ready to go. They're ready to go now. The guys that surf until they're going to the discotheque. Go.
Yeah, I think that when you say they have an edge, I think what you're noticing is the humor in the lyric writing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's really one of the funniest rock and roll albums of all time.
Yeah.
There's certain tracks, like "We're a Happy Family."
Yeah,
is really
hilarious.
It's really sardonic and it's really funny and it's really, really dark.
We're a happy family. We're a happy family. We're a happy family. Hey, mom and daddy. We're a happy family. We're a happy family. We're a happy family. Hey, mom and daddy. Sitting here in Queens, eating refried beans, wearing all the magazines, gulping down kerosene. We ain't got no friends. Our troubles never end. No Christmas causes end. Daddy likes me.
What are some of the other tracks that you think are particularly funny on the album?
Teenage Lobotomy, Creep
Yeah.
and Hop is really, really funny.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's playing on these like 60s teeny bopper tropes, but putting it through this like sort of slightly warped, because the Ramones are so unique, and it's so weird how they're heralded as like the prototypical punk band, but there's really no, like, there's like sensibility and sense of humor is so unique. Like the Cretin Hop is like, it could have been called the like Boogaloo Hop or like whatever. So it could have easily been like a Brill Building pop song from like 1961, but it's so uniquely rooted in that time period, and that their sense of humor is like unique, but also could only have existed at that time. I feel like it was kind of this like 70s post-Nixon like misanthropy. I don't know what else to call it. But then also they are so indebted and like genuinely revere these like bubblegum pop songs of the 60s.
I think that what we're really talking about here, what we're segueing into talking about, is the overall aesthetics of the Ramones that made them so unique at the time and still really, really unique. And I feel like basically what they did is they embraced a lot of pop tropes from the 60s. They also embraced a lot of trash from the 60s as well. But they're very smart.
Yes.
They're smarter than anyone gives them credit for. I really feel, although Joey Ramone was looked at as being the smart one, I actually feel they were all really smart.
Yeah.
I think they were smart in their own ways. I think that Dee Dee was a really impassioned songwriter. Rockaway Beach on this album was written by Dee Dee.
Yes.
And I think that what they did is they took their childhoods and they saw it through a sardonic filter that other bands at the time didn't really have, and it really made them actually very postmodern. And it's very interesting to me that they came up with other bands like Television or Talking Heads, because I feel like all of those bands were taking the culture that they grew up with and reinterpreting them in their own ways. And we'll get into those other bands in future episodes. This is about the Ramones, but I do feel that conversations were happening at CBGB's at the time between all of those people that were very, very similar.
Yeah.
And then they took those conversations and used them in very, very different ways.
Right.
Sonically.
Yeah, right. And I think now it's no secret, but I mean, none of those CBGB's bands get lumped together, but they sonically, I mean, there's a common maybe worldview almost, but or way of incorporating their influences, but at the end of the day, they don't sound anything alike, of course, and like
No.
and their
think
personalities too are so different. Like we were talking, like the Ramones are like punk, like a quote unquote punk band, but at the end of the day, these were guys who like collecting baseball cards and chewing bubble gum, and like they're kind of like the all quintessential like all American guys, but like if they were like some demented bizarro version of that. It's like we were saying, he's like the Ramones are like the bizarro version of like Tom Hanks's character in Big.
That's right.
Like they
You
have
did
all
say that earlier.
They have all the
Yeah.
same tastes, the same
Yes.
the baseball card and the spokes of the wheels,
Yeah, they're sort of the quintessential like boy that lives across the street from you, but is also the smartest kid on his block.
Yeah, right.
So like he wants to do all that boy stuff with you, but then he also like wants to like have a conversation with you about Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, right.
Like,
exactly.
Like yeah, which is interesting and definitely comparatively, just to talk about those CBGB bands just for a minute, like comparatively to their contemporaries like Talking Heads, who were very, very art school, or Television, once again, where, Tom Verlaine literally named himself after an 18th century poet. That is so interesting to think about that comparatively to the Ramones, who intentionally gave themselves all the same last name so that they were like a unified group of brothers.
Right.
And then also something that's like a fairly unsubstantiated fact. I've heard different versions of this story, but I'd like to believe that it's true, is that Joey Ramone, who was born Jeffrey Hyman, he named himself Joey Ramone after my favorite songwriter, Joey Levine, who wrote Yummy, 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 I've Got Love in My Tummy in the 60s. And he sang it as well. And Joey Levine has this whiny punk, proto-punk drone that I think Joey Ramone was very influenced by. And that's talking about Joey Levine's a whole other podcast, but I do feel like it's worth checking out actually some of the other bubblegum stuff that Joey Levine wrote. Specifically, there's a song called Mercy. There's a song that is called Come On My Baby, and I think both of those songs are like very indicative of early Ramones songwriting. So yeah,
I would not be surprised if that was the case for Joey. And first of all, I think more than anyone in the band, he had the bubblegum taste. But then also, like, you get some some good covers on this album too. Of course, the classic "Surfin' Bird" and
do you want to dance?
Do you wanna stand there and hold my hand? Tell me, baby, if you're another man, oh, baby.
Yeah, which I think is the quintessential cover of that song. And
absolutely.
That song's been covered a lot, actually.
Yeah. I didn't know. Wait,
learned.
the Beach Boys is not the original version?
No, the Beach Boys is not the original version. So, Do You Want to Dance was originally written and recorded by Bobby Freeman, but it was covered a few times before. It was covered originally by the Beach Boys, and it was also covered by the Mamas and the Papas as well. But I think the Ramones version of it is like the quintessential cover.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that song it's such a seamless cover, and I think it's not always the case, but I think a sign of a good cover can be if it feels like it could have just been. That feels like it could have just been a Ramones song, and I think "Surfin' Bird," while their cover is amazing, feels very much like a cover.
Yeah, it's definitely the surfiest thing on that album.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah. But yeah, the Ramones' "Do You Want to Dance?" It's just such a seamless, because it really is like a 3-chord song, with like a Ramones song, and it's also it's literally just verse chorus verse chorus verse chorus all the way through.
Yeah. The only thing about it, I feel, is it's a little less sweet, or sorry, it's a little more sweet. My apologies, than a Ramones song.
You think "Do You Want to Dance"
is more sweet?
It doesn't have that like.
Well, there's like
bite to it.
Yeah, there's this sardonic edge, which I mean
Right.
can bring us into talking about the Ramones originals on the album.
Right.
Sheena is a punk rocker. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, like, Sheena's a punk rocker. There is a longing in that song that is very tangible and very identifiable to youth. And I think that's what made it such a powerful anthem for the punk movement.
But she just couldn't stand. She had to break away. Well, New York City really has it all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. She is a bone rocker, she is.
And I feel like just, Do You Want to Dance doesn't have that edge to it, like they're making fun a little bit of discotheques.
Right, yeah.
They're talking about how punk music is a bit of an alternative for the disco kids at the time.
Right. Or the surf kids.
Or the surf kids. Although I do feel the surf thing is a little more of just a joke that they're throwing in.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you think about that, Kyle? Because I mean, it's not like when they were running around New York in 1977 when the album was recorded.
Yeah.
The two warring factions of teenagers were disco kids and surf kids. There were no surf kids running around, right?
Yeah, right. I think it might just be the imagery, like the imagery that they go to, that they they like. But yeah, I think like this album, because I'm trying to think of other but I feel like Joey love songs it's not on this album, but I Want to Be Your Boyfriend.
Yes.
Is just pretty pure sweet.
That is true. I think I Want to Be Your Boyfriend might be the sweetest Ramones written song.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to challenge me on that, that's great. But I'm going to come out and say it. That is the sweetest song that the Ramones have ever written.
Yeah, and it didn't get much sweeter. I feel like they kind of lost a lot of the sweet ones later on, but...
That's true. That's true. They got deeper later on.
Yeah.
I feel like I Believe in Miracles is sort of a really cool, sort of epic sweeping song that is very genuine. Mm-hmm. But this album in particular is really a lot of tracks where they're poking fun at shit.
Yeah, right.
Like it's almost their version, I'd say, of Mad Magazine.
Yeah, right. Or National Lampoon. Well, not quite National Lampoon, but yeah.
It's just not quite as smart as National Lampoon.
And it's not
smart in the same way, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's National Lampoon's was way darker. Mm-hmm. This is Mad Magazine. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so much so that there's these cartoon inserts in the liner notes,
which are awesome,
which are great. Yeah, which are drawn by John Holstrom, who was the editor and chief cartoonist of Punk Magazine, who was a friend of theirs at the time. And who sort of are illustrating all of the actual lyrics. Are there any specific illustrations that you really, really, really like from the album that we can talk about?
We're a Happy Family was pretty amazing. And I also just think the back cover with the war. I was a kid who just was obsessed with maps and world being playing pretend on the map, imagining armies fighting each other. So just that image is so cool with all the cartoony little elements on it. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's definitely a lot for a kid to look at, and also something that a kid could absorb, because that was something else that was going on at the time. I think the Ramones were very influenced by, is that a lot of the art styles at the time were very, very direct. And John Holstrom, I feel you could group him into this group of artists and cartoonists at the time that also contain artists like Keith Haring or James Rizzi. They call themselves urban primitives. Basquiat is another one of them, where just it doesn't take a lot to absorb the art. It really hits you and you get what it's about right away. Yeah. Kyle, what's your favorite track from this album?
I want to say Sheena's a Punk Rocker. I think that's the purest, best. I'm also a big Joey fan of the Joey songs, and that's the Joeyest Joey song. And it's they just nailed it with that. But I think I also have to say Rockaway Beach.
1, 2, 3, 4. Shooting at a rhythm on my bubble door. The sun is out and I want some. It's not hard, not far to reach. We can hit to Rockaway Beach.
Yeah, Rockaway Beach is really charming.
Yeah. And I also just love the imagery of any New Yorkers out there know it's not an ideal. It's a surfy type song, but it's not a beautiful California Caribbean beach. Rockaway Beach is kind of not that nice of a beach.
Totally.
Yeah,
but they loved
especially
it.
Back, exactly.
Yeah.
They found that so charming, and it's so charming for us to sing, for them to sing this ode to a gross beach.
Definitely. Yeah, I love that too. And I really love about Rockaway Beach, basically that they were such East Coast boys, and they wrote a quintessentially West Coast song.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that song is pure Beach Boys in a really wonderful way. And it's so funny. A few years ago, Brian Wilson was asked, what do you think of punk music? And he literally replied, I don't know what that is.
Really?
Yeah, in an interview.
Amazing.
It's very interesting because I think
it's so sweet.
It is sweet, but I feel like he would have really appreciated specifically Rockaway Beach. And I think he would have understood, the nod to him.
Yes.
And I've never heard, I don't know if he's ever even heard the song. I've never heard him comment publicly on it,
Oh my God. Yeah, someone should just go out and show him, because
I
mean, that's what I always say is I love the Beach Boys, and I hear I hear so much of like, especially early Beach Boys,
Yes.
like pre-Pet Sounds Beach Boys. I hear that so much in the Ramones.
Yes.
It is just, or like the Today album, which has Do You Want to Dance on it. Like, if you just put like crunchy electric guitars and like kind of make the production a little... I mean, the production on this album is really good. But
And let's talk about that,
Yeah.
actually. So this album was produced by Tony Bon Jovi. He is Bon Jovi's cousin. But what's interesting about him is he also produced a lot of disco. He produced all of that Mecco Star Wars stuff, which is really interesting and is very lush, but is also very silly. He also produced, around the same time he produced this album, he produced the first Talking Heads album, Talking Heads 77. And Talking Heads, I know they wanted to work with him because they were very concerned about giving themselves a more mainstream sound.
yes.
Now, the Ramones were also concerned with that. And I think they approached it a bit of a different way. But at the time, they had just heard Nevermind the Bollocks, Here Come the Sex Pistols. It had just been released. And they wanted to give this album a more sweeping, big sound. Apparently, they talked to Tony Bon Jovi and the engineer on this album. And they were like, that won't be a problem. And then this album sold poorly, despite having an excellent sound. This album is very accessible. It is not too harsh. It sounds like big classic rock and roll, just played more quickly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It failed, and the Ramones blame the Sex Pistols for this album failing. Do you feel there's truth in the accusation, like that's why this album wasn't as successful? They really wanted this to be a big breakout commercial hit, and it wasn't for them. It didn't sell very well. Why do you think that is?
I definitely I tend to believe it because I think the Ramones, they were already fighting an uphill battle in terms of mainstream accessibility just by their, I don't know, it could have, I mean, they were so ahead of their time, and like I think for it to really be a pop song on the radio, I mean, rock music like that wasn't even on the radio. I mean, it was like, you know, Kansas and Foreigner and Boston.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
1977.
Yeah, right. And I mean, people were hungering for something else, but I think even without it, it would have been an uphill battle. And to have the added thing up, because it was so New York, like, you know, and art scene music people gave a crap, but you know, if you're gonna sell this in Oklahoma, you know, it's not gonna do you any favors in 1977 to have people saying don't buy anything that's punk, and it's a bunch of guys with leather jackets singing about Sheena's a punk rocker, saying it like that, and they don't see the nostalgic kitschiness of it.
Yeah, and they weren't shock artists.
No, they weren't.
And the Sex Pistols were.
Right.
And they really, what they prove at the end of the day is that punk was a genre that had a lot of variety.
Yes.
And that although there was a directness to the music that I think wove its way through everything that we can call punk up to this point, at the time, listening to the Ramones was really different than listening to the Buzzcocks,
right,
or the Clash or the Sex Pistols, or even like Television, who were considered punk at the time, or Patti Smith,
right,
who now we would listen to and we wouldn't initially differentiate as being punk.
Right. It's I was saying, it's so interesting because it also makes me think, like, the Ramones they had a clear image, but they didn't have, can you think of like a PR stunt that the Ramones ever did?
Absolutely not.
You know,
that wasn't what they were into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they were quiet, angry guys.
Mm-hmm.
They'd hop in the bus, they'd hop in the tour bus, or they'd hop in the van,
Mm-hmm.
go city to city. At the end of the night, they have a few drinks, they go back, they get up and do it all again in the morning. Whereas, like, they're not going to be like Sid Vicious, where, like, wherever he goes, it's a story. The Ramones had an awesome image. They had a very clear, cohesive, thing. But at the end of the day, like, nothing they ever did got in the news.
This is true, because they weren't in it for getting on the news.
Absolutely, which makes them so awesome and endearing and charming.
And also, really, I mean, maybe there will be some listeners that disagree with me on this, but I personally haven't listened to Nevermind the Bollocks since I was a teenager.
Yeah, right.
And I really liked it.
Yeah.
But, I started listening to the Ramones when I was about 16, 17, and I've really never stopped.
Yeah.
I just have this ongoing relationship with them, and I think that's the case with a lot of the fans, that there's always something new to notice in their music that gives them a few different layers that maybe their contemporaries didn't have in that way. But it's a shame that while they were around, that they sort of were beaten down by this whole notion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I buy it. I 100% buy it. But then I could also see, because supposedly the story is that, Johnny came in with a copy of Nevermind the Bollocks, and he said, we gotta outdo them,
Yes.
which you mentioned, but, like, I could see, it makes so much sense to me, and, because, like, if you hear Johnny talk about the early CBGB's era, he's like, we were the best band. There was no competition. We were better than every band except Talking Heads, and they were doing something else.
Yeah, very different.
They were doing something different, so we didn't even care about them. He's like, Richard Hell, he was a junkie. Like, whatever. Television didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just so funny, like, because, like, you think, like, it also kind of goes against the punk ethos. I mean, I don't know if it goes against it, but I mean, he just, like, he was just like, they wanted to be stars.
Yeah.
They wanted to be stars, but they
Yeah.
were like these, like, New York, like, kind of just
Goobers.
Like, goobers, yeah,
They were.
goobers, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, which was a wonderful thing about them.
Yes,
and
which is the best part. It's like, but the fact that they were, like, so clearly wanted to be, like, it kind of fits into that image, like, I want to have a hit song on the radio. I want to have my song played on the radio.
Yeah, and instead of leaving us with just one or two radio hits, basically what the Ramones did, and especially on this album, is they left us with a plethora of different alternate universe radio hits from, like, a, like, weird, like, bombed out version of 1965, where the kids want to dance, but they are all mutated from, like, some, like, terrifying war with Russia. And they still need pop music, and in certain ways, that's sort of what I think the central, like, crux or theme of this album is.
Yes, I think that's a perfect way to describe it. That being said, what would we sort of delved into my favorites, but what would you say is your favorite track on this album?
Well, if I wanted to be like a snobby music critic, I would say I Want to Be Well. Because it's really well written. It, like, deals with issues the Ramones were dealing with in their lives. Like, I think it's about drug addiction, among other things.
It's a little slower. It's, like, it's not that typical, or prototypical Ramones sound structure.
Yeah, it has more of that relaxed pace, which is awesome.
Which you
is
get
great.
a lot on this, kind of like a little janglier, maybe some upstrokes from Johnny at some point.
Yeah, that's definitely something that you as a guitarist would notice that I would not notice. That I do think is great about that song and about some of the other tracks on the album that are a little more ballady, a little slower. But I'm not going to go with that as my favorite song. I think I'm gonna go with Teenage Lobotomy. is just like a big, bold Ramones classic. And like the main reason why I like it, like this is a complete honest confession, is because I really love the line, "Now I've got to tell him that I've got no cerebellum." I think it's literally one of the best written rhymes of all time.
Yeah.
And like rhyming "tell him" with cerebellum, I feel like it could only come from the mind of a Ramone. And like every time I hear it, I get really excited. I just think it's just like a classic Ramones moment, and like maybe a really classic rock and roll moment. It's just such a funny, smart line.
Right.
And and we're both comedians. And I think that I always say, when people are like, who are your comedy influences? I often name bands first. And then I think, oh my God, I'm such a pretentious asshole. But like, I think this album is so genuinely funny. And I think that like the wordplay of "tell 'em cerebellum" is really emblematic of what makes this album work so well, and why I think it's so genuinely funny.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect example of like how the Ramones, especially on this album, they're like smart kids playing dumb, and they are not going, and they're smart kids with, as I say, like smart kids with really good and really specific taste, both in comedy and music. So I think they're like, they thought it was hilarious, and that's why, but they were smart enough to not, they're not actually dumb, but they...
No, I don't think any of the Ramones were dumb.
No. And I think that's like a perfect example. Yeah,
I love it. I love this whole album. I'm glad that we decided to talk about it for our first episode. Yeah. No, this is a special one, especially too because like clearly we both grew up on this music.
Yeah.
And it really influenced us, and we care about it a lot. Okay, so now is the part of the show where we do a little dovetail and we talk about an album or a song that is related to our key album of the podcast. So today what we're going to do is I want to talk a little bit about Bobby Freeman. So Bobby Freeman was the writer of "Do You Want to Dance?", which we talked about already as being a really quintessential Ramones cover on the album. Love it, love it, love it. And he was a big R&B dance guy in the late 50s, early 60s. He didn't really have any other big hits, but he did have a really large catalog of music, which I recommend you checking out, especially if you like very Spectre-esque, echoey, fun, direct dance songs. Like clearly an influence on Joey Ramone,
who would later work with Phil Spector.
Yes, who would later work with Phil Spector in the ill-fated End of the Century album, which we've actually already discussed together. Yeah. So I want to talk about a song of his that I found that I want everybody to check out. And I'm not going to tell you what the title of the song is. I just want you to give it a listen, and I want you to tell me what you think he is singing about, okay? So here we go.
Mary Ann Thomas, remember your promise. Mary Ann Thomas, you be true to me. You're my lover, don't want any other. Mary Ann Thomas, love me faithfully.
Okay, so do you want to hear what this song is called? This song is called Mary Ann Thomas. Mary Ann Thomas. But don't you think it sounds like he's singing Mary and Thomas?
Yeah.
So here's my question. Do you think that this is Bobby Freeman trying very subtly to sing about being in a throuple? Or am I crazy? Am I a crazy person?
You know what? I don't think that's crazy at all. And I think that is... I mean, it's so funny listening to, like, old songs where they have to do the runaround to say anything.
Yeah.
I could see, like, teenagers in 1960 having this exact same conversation of like, do you know what that song's about?
But do you think that in the 60s, the kids even had the vocabulary?
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
And what I'm wondering is, do you think
It wasn't even a even underground, teens wouldn't even thought.
No,
They were still learning how to give head.
Exactly, at the very most, really.
Right.
You know,
or not,
at
not
the
learning
time.
how, but learning that was
That's
a thing
that exists. That's a thing in the universe.
Yeah,
Exactly. And like, so what I'm wondering too is from the songwriter's perspective, and this is sort of taking a big leap that he was intentionally writing about being with two people or hanging out with two people, which I know is a leap, but do you think this might be a songwriter trying to create a language or a scenario for something to sort of play around with expressing this in that specific way?
I would say 100%. This is the first ever, not only acknowledgement or allusion to. I think this song made the concept of a threesome, invented it.
This song invented the threesome?
Yes.
You know what? Let's go with it, Kyle. This song invented the threesome. It's very exciting.
Yep.
Marianne Thomas by Bobby Freeman.
And it's a good song.
Check it out. It's a great little early 60s dance track that is about sleeping with a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. Well, Kyle, that's it for the first edition of Kick the Jukebox. How are you feeling?
Great! That was so much fun.
It was really
to do more.
It was really fun. Yeah. It's fun to just hang out and geek out about music with someone who knows a lot. But
Likewise.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, no. Like, there's some similar tastes. There's some different tastes. And like, speaking of different tastes, next month we're gonna be discussing one of your absolute favorite albums that I have a lot of respect for and I really like. But I think it hits your heart in a different way.
Yes.
What is it gonna be, Kyle?
We're going to be talking about Wu-Tang Clan 36 Chambers.
Catch the blast of a hype verse. My clock burst, leaving a hearse. I did worse. I come rough, tough like an elephant tusk.
Yeah, which is gonna be awesome and is very New Yorky, very much like the Ramones are.
Yep.
But I mean, stylistically, genre-wise, could not be more different.
And we're moving to a different borough.
Mm-hmm. We're moving over to Staten Island. Good old Staten Island.
Good old Shaolin.
Yup, good old Shaolin. I just want to say, got to see Wu-Tang.
I have too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a blast, so I'm excited to talk about that.
Yes, very excited.
Cool. All right, so check that out on all of your favorite podcatchers. If you liked this podcast and you want to hear all the songs we were talking about, go check out my Spotify. It's Louie4711, and we're making a playlist that is called Kick the Jukebox that's going to have every single song we either played or mentioned during this podcast. And it's also going to be posted in the description of this episode if you want to check that out as well. If you liked this podcast, please recommend it to friends because word of mouth is going to be the way that we're going to get a lot of listeners and we're going to get to do a full season of this podcast.
Cool. Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos. We'll catch ya in a month.
Kick the jukebox is so much fun. Kyle and Louie are number one. Kick the jukebox, kicking a rhyme. Talking about music all the time. Oh yeah!